Hello and welcome to this performance of Bach's Toccata in D minor by Johann Sebastian Bach. This piece of music is on the LVCM syllabus for keyboard examinations. Now we're very fortunate to have today Craig, who has agreed to come in and demonstrate this piece of music for us, and he will also be chatting to us a little bit to explain how he's actually used the keyboard to get some of the settings that are important for this particular piece of music. So I'm going to hand over to Craig straight away to give a performance of this, and then I'll be chatting to him afterwards about the performance. Craig. So, have you any idea, Craig, what a toccata is?
It's a piece of music to show off a performer's skill.
Exactly, yeah. It's a musical composition for any keyboard instrument. It could be organ or a modern keyboard today, actually, designed to exhibit the performer's touch and technique. So obviously, when you look at it in that sort of light, you've got to make sure that what you're doing within the piece of music is aimed to impress, really, and impress whoever it is who is the listener. So what about where the name is derived from? The toccata actually comes from the Italian word toccare, which means to touch. So it's all about the touch of the keyboard, and that's why you've got such a lot of fast passages in this. So this arrangement actually has a few sections in which doesn't have any backing rhythm at all. And so that gives the performer the opportunity to add their own personal expression. You've got to be careful as well, I think, at bar 4, because you have very difficult fingering there. So how did you get around the fingering problem that you had there in bar 4, Craig? Can you see
bar 4, you just have to swing your hand under in order to reach the higher notes.
That's right.
So 1, 2, 3, thumb under. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it use the thumb quite a lot to,
Yeah.
to actually put on the white note really to help that?
Yeah.
Can you just demonstrate that to show?
So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, thumb under.
Yeah.
Thumb under.
Okay. Now I think the other problem that tends to arise with this piece of music is that you've got quite a few triplet sections, but then it suddenly goes into a duplet. So if you have a look at line 3, for example, can you see you've got your triplets there against your duplets? So how do you get around the problem of changing from triplets to duplets there? How do you count in your head to make that work for you?
Yeah, you just have to kind of feel the beat in your head, and you have to count the 3 triplet notes as being equivalent to 1 crotchet beat. You could even think of it, give it nicknames if it helps, so like chocolate, 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 coffee, chocolate, 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 coffee. If that helps, you know.
And that certainly helps you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and
that's right.
I think as well the repeat's quite important in this. Would you agree with me?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I think we need to definitely keep that in. So that little repeated section at bar 9, definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So moving on a little bit further from that, you've got a Thermata at bar 17 and bar 18. How important do you think they are as part of this performance?
They're fairly important. It doesn't need to be as long as, say, one at the end of the piece would be generally. You know, it's just in the middle of the piece. I'd say hold it a little bit longer, but not too much, because it could affect the flow of the piece otherwise.
Yeah, but I think it's there, isn't it, for a bit of dramatic effect, really.
Yeah.
So definitely hold on a little bit longer than expected at those places. But again, there you see, you haven't actually got any backing rhythm on there.
No.
So you have the flexibility to hold on at your own discretion, really, don't you?
That's right.
In those bits. Okay. So moving on to bar 20, it's at this section here that you start to put your backing rhythm on, and that's why you've got your chords actually mentioned there. Now, I've deliberately not put a timing on this. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's because there's a difficult passage around about bar 28, 29, and it reoccurs a few times later as well.
That's right.
And it all depends on how fast you're able to play that passage, really. That dictates the speed of this section, really.
Exactly.
So I had it then at a speed of crotchet equals 95, but obviously due to the performer you might want it faster or slower, you know.
That's right. But because you've got the semiquavers in it, if you're not careful and you play too fast at the beginning, when you get to those semiquavers you can never fit them in the timing,
That's
can
right,
you?
yeah.
So always dictate your timing and your speed from bar 28, really, where you've got your semiquavers. Okay. Now, you've also got opportunities to put a little bit of fill-in in as well. So if you have a look at bar 32, you've got a fill-in there, haven't you?
That's right.
So how did you get around the problem of putting these in? Did you find it was better to use a foot switch with this, or to actually use your hand?
Just use your hand for that one, because there's nothing else happening at that point, so you've just got a very long note. So it's just easier just to use my hand for that one.
Okay. Fine. Now, if you go right to the end of the piece, the rhythm comes off again at bar 49 and 48, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, can you just explain to everyone how you've managed to get around that problem of switching the rhythm off and going into the largo section after that? How did you decide to sort it out on the keyboard that you're using?
Yeah, on this particular keyboard you have to do 2 things at that point, because not only are you switching the rhythm off, you also need to turn your chord button off as well, so you're ready for the next section. So on mine, I can do that just with this stretching my hand slightly. We've got the chord button up here, and we've got the stop button here, so I can just press them both at the same time, which I think on most keyboards you should be able to. It depends where they're located though. And it's a similar thing actually when you get to bar 20 as well, because you have to press the chord button and you press the sync start button, so you're ready for the bar 20 as well. So similar thing there.
Okay, so as for the voicing that you used, obviously this piece was originally written for organ. So most keyboards have a great selection of organs on, don't they? And so this is the great thing about working with your keyboard and experimenting with all the organ settings that you've got in it. But don't forget as well, you have got other areas of the keyboard that you might want to consider. Like there's a section, isn't there, where you can have a look at maybe putting a bit more ambience in the actual voice, and look at where the sustain is. There's a lot of keyboards that have a sustain button, for example, so you might want to put a sustain on just to make the keyboard sound a little bit more resonant. And there's other buttons as well which could be used. There's on this keyboard here what's called the global effect section, where you've got buttons on which have got chorus on and you've got multi-effect on. So I've noticed that this one you've actually used the chorus which has been put on, and also a little bit of reverb as well. So it's always good to experiment maybe with the global effect areas of your keyboard too, to just slightly adjust or adapt the sound of the organ to make it sound really superb for this performance. Would you agree with me on that, Craig?
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Yeah. And is there anything else you want to mention really about this performance that you've given that you think might be appropriate for the listeners?
I think you mentioned everything that's important really in this piece. Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, would you like to give a final performance of this then?
Yeah, okay.
concludes this performance.